I'm your number one fan.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
My mom and dad
I see dead people.
Hello.
Hi, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Welcome back to the Killer Cuties podcast.
Yeah, it's almost June.
It is almost June.
Crazy.
I know, next episode will be in June. Maybe, some might say, the best day in June. Not me, of course. I would never say that, but
No.
I've heard people say that June 3rd is the best day in June.
Yeah. Who, like your mom?
Yeah, and what about it?
It's Cassidy's birthday.
It is my birthday, for anybody who's confused.
Yeah, a
June
week from
3rd.
today.
It is. I'm so excited.
Well, we're here to talk about The Ruins, not The Ritual, which I started watching before I panicked and was like, is this the movie I'm supposed to be watching?
Oh, I'm glad you figured it out.
Yeah.
That would have been awkward.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, we're here to talk about The Ruins, but first, news and movies. June 2025 horror movie releases.
Yes. All right. You have a few newses, right? Do you want to start with that?
Sure, yeah, we'll do just a few little quick pieces of news. We know that Sarah Michelle Gellar is unfortunately not returning for I Know What You Did Last Summer, which makes sense because her character's dead.
Yeah.
But she did tell E.T. at the premiere of Pretty Hurts that she's more than willing to return for another Scream movie, which is also weird because her character is dead.
True.
She said she did try to get into Scream 7, but she never got a call, which is gross.
Another reason to boycott Scream 7.
Seriously.
The list just keeps getting longer.
Yeah. But no, she was in Scream 2. She died, but dying in a Scream movie is a little less permanent maybe than dying in an I Know What You Did Last Summer movie.
Fair.
Anyway, she's up for it, even though she's busy reprising her role in Buffy and executive producing the reboot. Exciting.
I'm unbelievably excited for that. Yeah.
I believe it.
Did you see the video? They had a video where they released it where they told the girl who got the role as like the new Slayer. It was her and Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Sarah Michelle like told her that she got the role. It was so cute.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, look it up, guys, if you care about Buffy.
Okay.
She's like crying, and she's like, Dad, I got the role.
Oh, maybe I did see that.
Yeah, it was very cute.
Oh.
Passing the torch. I love it.
Yeah. She's still going to be in it, though.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I think she's going to be more of like a watcher mentor to the new Slayer, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Giles forever, but I mean, I guess if we had to replace Giles, it should be with Buffy.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason why a Slayer is not the mentor to the new Slayer is because they have to, well, mostly they have to die in order for a new Slayer to come out.
Yeah.
Buffy's the exception.
She is. But she did die.
She did die. It's just usually they don't come back.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a Buffy podcast now.
Oh, I wish. Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah. Next, Josh Hartnett is back. Yes. And this time, I am more than intrigued. I never did watch Trap. I should.
Trap was like...
Fine.
It was fun.
Okay.
Was it great? No. But was it a fun time? Sure.
Okay. All right, well. Anyway, he's going to be starring in a currently untitled Netflix series created by the creator of The Umbrella Academy.
Oh, okay.
Josh must fight a sea creature in Newfoundland.
Do we have any idea what the creature is?
No, but that's...
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's literally all we know. He's a fisherman protecting his family from a sea creature in Newfoundland. We all know how I feel about sea creatures, and we know how we both feel about Josh, so I guess we'll just keep you posted as we hear more.
How we both feel about Josh. So true.
The second that monster has tentacles, it's my favorite show. Like, it's over. That's it.
Yeah.
That's going to be my favorite show.
I'm going to be honest. I blacked out. Did you say Josh Hartnett or Hutcherson?
Hartnett.
Right, because you said Trap.
Because he's
okay.
in Trap.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like him too, though.
For like half a second, I was like, wait, did she say Hutcherson? And I just auto-filled in Hartnett.
Hartnett.
But you didn't. I do, to be clear, big fan of both the Joshes.
Both.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, Hartnett. A la Pearl Harbor and Halloween H2O.
And the
The
Faculty.
two most important cinematic feats of the modern age.
Have you even seen Halloween H2O?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I don't need to. I saw the first one. That's all I needed to see. I've seen all the ones with what's-her-face in it.
Jamie Lee Curtis. No, I'm pretty sure she's in H2O, so.
Okay, well, I've seen the important ones that she's in. Is she really in H2O?
I think so.
That's
Maybe it was
annoying.
Resurrect. Bro, they all fucking blend together in my mind, okay?
Yeah, it's all the same.
I'm almost positive she is in H2O, though.
Okay, well, add to the list, I
remember.
guess.
Yeah,
Or
you
not.
should really just marathon them all. And then we'll talk about it on the podcast. How about that?
Yeah, okay. Halloween.
When we get Josh
2025.
Josh Hartnett. No, actually, we'll get
Hartnett.
Josh Hutcherson as a guest to talk about Josh Hartnett's role in H2O.
How awkward would that be? Be like, oh yeah, I remember your role in H2O, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know how I even got here.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever. Last news from us: the Philippou brothers are back with "Bring Her Back." That comes out. It's out. No, it comes out this weekend, the 30th.
No.
It came out already.
Yes. No.
No.
Wait, if you're hearing this, it's the 27th, and it comes out this Friday.
Yes, correct. It comes out the 30th
Yes.
of May. Okay. I can't wait for you to see that one, not me. Well, they were on the Boo Crew podcast from Bloody Disgusting and were asked about Talk to Me Too.
Oh, okay.
They said the sequel to one of our favorite horror movies of 2023 is coming. But the focus right now for the Philippou brothers is a documentary that they're almost done with. And then they're also currently writing a totally separate from both Bring Her Back and Talk to Me horror movie that they say feels huge. So we're going to be waiting a while for Talk to Me too. But they did tease, I know, seriously. They did tease that there are two wildly different versions of the script for Talk to Me too, following two different sets of characters in two different places. And they're equally excited about both versions. So to me, it sounds like Talk to Me is going to be an anthology series, which I think we sort of already knew. And there's the potential already for 3 movies. And if you're curious about the documentary that they're making, it's about literally fighting to the death. The underground world of deathmatch wrestling.
Okay.
It's weird.
It is.
That doesn't seem to me like it would make any money compared to Talk to Me.
Well, you know what? They gotta follow their hearts. I'll be honest, Talk to Me was my favorite horror movie of 2023.
Yeah.
And I did see Bring Her Back. It was a Scream Unseen at AMC. Highly recommend signing up for those. But also good. It made me a little nauseous, but it was still good.
Okay.
All right, should we talk about June horror movies?
Yep, June 2025 horror movie releases. You start.
Okay. So on June 6th, we've got 3 movies coming out. First, The Ritual. This follows 2 priests, one questioning his faith and one reckoning with a troubled past, who must put aside their differences to save a possessed young woman through a difficult and dangerous series of exorcisms. This is a different ritual than the one that Katie thought we were going to be watching. But
yeah, thank you for clarifying. I was very confused.
Yes, no, it's an exorcism movie.
Got
So that comes out. Then we've got Dangerous Animals, Sharks. When Zephyr, a rebellious surfer, is abducted by a shark-obsessed serial killer and held captive on his boat, she must figure out how to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below. I've seen the trailer. It looks fun.
Yeah, that one does look fun. And I cannot wait for him to get eaten by sharks.
We can only hope that's how it ends. And then the third one coming out on the 6th is I Don't Understand You. This one's a horror comedy. An American couple on the verge of adopting a baby goes on an Italian vacation, an opportunity to reconnect before the new addition arrives. On the way to dinner, they get their rental car stuck in a ditch and are stranded in a rural nowhere in a downpour. These two Americans who are used to being catered to are now in a foreign land without service, an Italian language comprehension of about zero, and a clear relationship turmoil that could explode at any minute. Fear, obviously, takes over. So I also saw the trailer for that one. It does look pretty funny. It's got Nick Kroll as part, like, one of the people in the couple. It feels very Tucker and Dale to me, like that kind of vibe.
Cute.
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that one.
That's what I was hoping for from Clown in a Cornfield.
Like
Tucker and Dale vibe, which I guess we got a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's definitely like horror comedy slasher. This one feels more of the vibe of like misunderstandings happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And
Fun.
then, yeah. And then on the 13th, we have House of Abraham. Haunted by her childhood memories of finding her mother dead, a conflicted Dee arrives at a mysterious, secluded property looking for answers. Upon checking in, she meets 6 other weekend guests there for the same reason as herself, ending their lives with the assistance of the enigmatic host. He assures everyone that their deaths will happen under his guidance and informs them that they are free to change their minds and leave if they so choose. When Dee stumbles upon evidence that a fellow guest has mysteriously disappeared, leaving all his things behind, she has the chilling realization that their host lied. No one leaves the house alive.
I feel like that was too much.
Too much given. The crazy thing is, I cut that down so much. They gave us so much in the description. But I think it feels kind of like a little mystery of, assisted suicide and then that going wrong. I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, okay, well.
Kind of an original concept, I guess.
I suppose. I feel like if it takes you 10 sentences to describe your concept, it's too much.
That's fair. Your turn.
My turn. On June 20th, we are finally getting 28 years later. It's been almost 3 decades since the rage virus escaped a biological weapons laboratory, and now, still in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amongst the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single, heavily defended causeway. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors.
Nice.
Wow. Starring Cillian Murphy and Ralph Fiennes.
Nope, Cillian Murphy is not in it. I think it's Aaron Taylor Johnson, right?
Couldn't tell you.
I'm pretty sure he's in it.
Jaws is also re-releasing into theaters on the 20th in honor of its 50th anniversary. If you haven't seen Jaws, which, oh my god, I can't believe you haven't seen Jaws. Wow.
I can't imagine even speaking to someone who hasn't seen Jaws.
Seriously, let alone on an hour-long podcast every Tuesday.
Katie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it still. When a young woman is killed by a shark while skinny dipping near the New England tourist town of Amity Island, Police Chief Martin Brody wants to close the beaches, but the mayor overrules him, fearing that the loss of tourist revenue will cripple the town. Brody assembles a team to capture the killer beast, and the trio engage in an epic battle of man versus nature. It's the original shark movie.
Yeah. And that'll be fun to re-release in theaters, and I definitely recommend going to see it because I've heard that a really fun podcast might be talking about Jaws around that time.
Yep. It's ours.
It's ours. We're doing it.
Yep. 2 more on June 27th. Both are from June 27th. Megan 2.0. 2 years after Megan went rogue and embarked on a murderous rampage and was subsequently destroyed, the underlying tech for her has been stolen and misused by a powerful defense contractor to create a military-grade weapon known as Amelia. But as Amelia's self-awareness increases, she becomes decidedly less interested in taking orders from humans or in keeping them around. With the future of human existence on the line, the only option is to resurrect Megan. Seems like a bad idea.
It feels like they're giving her, like, it's Terminator 2, right? They're making the villain into the hero. I feel like you see that a lot in horror sequels, but they're definitely going that route.
Yeah. Aye. Could have come up with something original, but no. Finally, also on June 27th, The Sound. A world-class group of climbers are granted access to the Forbidden Wall, a mysterious rock wall previously closed for decades. Among the climbers is Sean, whose grandfather made an ill-fated attempt 63 years prior. During the group's ascent, they come face to face with a malevolent force that quickly turns their expedition into a harrowing battle for survival hundreds of feet above the ground. That actually sounds fun.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah. When was the last hiking horror movie we've had? That one where the guy
So
chops off
true.
his leg?
The one we're like about to talk about this episode.
Not hiking. Rock climbing. Sorry.
Yeah, rock climbing.
Right.
Wait, were you talking about 127 hours?
Yeah.
That's
a horror movie.
That
Yes, it
happened to someone.
He cuts his own leg off. Like, horror movies can be based on true events.
True, but it's like one scene.
Yeah.
Wasn't it his arm? Or
I
was
don't
it
know.
his leg?
I
I think
don't
it was his arm.
I've never seen it.
Anyways, shout out to that guy. That sucks that you had to go through that, but you're pretty cool for doing it.
Anyway, all to say, there are not a lot of rock climbing horror movies, and here's one, and it seems to be supernatural, which is weird.
Fair. Yeah.
Okay, well, June, we've got some good movies, highly anticipated movies, and then a couple others.
Isn't that how it goes, you know?
Yeah. All right. Tell us about the ruins.
Okay. We're here to talk about The Ruins, 2008. If you haven't seen it, or you don't care to, here's a little summary. Friends Amy, Stacy, Jeff, and Eric look for fun during a sunny holiday in Mexico, but they get much more than that after visiting an archaeological dig in the jungle. Carnivorous vines try to ensnare the friends in their tendrils, that's a fun word, forcing the group to fight for survival. Thank you, Google, for that little summary. It was directed by Carter Smith. The screenplay is by Scott B. Smith, two Smiths, unrelated. And it's also based on the book with the same name, also written by Scott Smith. It stars Jonathan Tucker, Jenna Malone, Sean Ashmore, Laura Ramsey, and Joe Anderson. It had a budget of $25 million and made almost $23 million at the box office, so it did not earn its funds back. It currently has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, a 51% critic score, and a 30% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. But did we like it? That's the point.
Yeah, I also feel like it's extremely important to note that this film is a DreamWorks film executive produced by Ben Stiller.
Yes, correct.
That's
exactly what you would expect to see from DreamWorks and Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ben Stiller took the project because he's friends with Scott Smith. I'm pretty sure he knows the author of the book and the screenplay writer, so.
Yeah, but
that's
also,
why he took it. Yes.
Steven Spielberg saw Carter's directorial debut and told Ben Stiller or his company, one of the two, to check Carter out.
Oh, for the director?
Yes.
Yeah. Just everybody had connections, which makes sense because Carter Smith, the director, I don't think he'd done much before this. I think he'd just done short films, and then this is his feature-length debut.
What's the bug movie? Bug's Head or Bug
Crush? That's a short.
Bug. That's a short. Okay, I thought it was a full length.
No. Yeah, he did Me and Max, Bug Crush, and Yearbook, which were all short films, and then his feature film debut was The Ruins.
Yeah, Bug Crush is what Steven Spielberg saw and said, you gotta check this guy out.
Got it. Okay. So that makes sense then. Because I know, like, one of the fun facts I read was that Carter Smith had just picked up the book and was about to read it when he got the call asking him if he wanted to direct the movie version.
Fun.
And I was like, what had he done? Like, who's offering a book to movie or a book to film adaptation to someone who's never done a full-length movie? But I guess that makes sense if Spielberg wanted him.
Yeah. Interesting. You've read the book, right?
I have.
Should we start there? What was different or better or worse?
Sure. I'm going to try to remember because it was last year. But I've read a lot of books since then.
Yeah.
I know in the book, well, first of all, it was a hill. It wasn't an actual ruins. So it's just a hill that they're on. A little bit more discreet, but it also kind of made sense that it was a bigger area that they were on, I think, than just this one temple. The main difference, I would say, is the order of deaths. A lot of people die in the same way as the book, but the order is different. Like who what happens to who is different.
Okay.
So the guy who gets shot immediately when they get there, because he keeps coming at the Mayans, he's the one that breaks his leg. So his name is Pablo in the book. He was Dimitri in the movie. Well, his name's not actually Pablo. He's Greek, but like they don't speak Greek and he doesn't speak English, so he calls himself Pablo like as a joke because they're in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. So he is the one that falls down the shaft and breaks his legs, and he is basically Matthias's death.
Got it.
Yes. So Joe Anderson's character, that's Pablo the whole time. And then Eric is the one who basically switches places with Stacy. So he thinks that he's infected because he gets a cut, and he's the one that's like cutting himself open. And then he kills Matthias in the book instead of her killing Eric.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Very confusing.
So yeah, sorry. So Eric kills Matthias in the book. And then Amy, Jenna Malone's character, is actually the first of them to die.
Oh.
Yeah, so they get drunk one night, and Jeff's really mad that they did that because they don't have water, and obviously alcohol dehydrates you, so he comes back and it causes a fight between them. And so he is put, because they have like someone take watch over Pablo every night. And so he's on watch, and she's angry and upset. So instead of going to sleep in the tent, she like goes and sleeps on like the side of the hill that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
And he hears her like vomiting and calling out to him. And he's like, oh, she's drunk. No, the vines had gone down her throat and they caused her to choke on her own vomit. So that's how she dies. The next morning he wakes up and realizes that she was calling out to him because she was dying. Yeah.
That's brutal.
It is. It is very brutal. So, oh yeah, and then he's like, oh, we should eat her. Like immediately, like that day.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that was a crazy part of the book. He's like, guys, I think we should preserve her and eat her though. And Stacy's like, no, we're not doing that, you weirdo. And then the vines eat her to the bone before they can even decide. So he was kind of right. But
gross.
Yeah, and then Jeff dies because he goes down and it's like raining and he thinks he sees an opening where they're not paying attention. And he's like, with the rain obscuring their view, like he thinks he can make a run for it. He can't. They kill him. So he dies, gets sucked back in, and Stacy is the last one alive. So she's there alone, and she's like, I can't do this. This is crazy. So she goes down and kills herself in front of the Mayans and like wants her body to be a warning to others. But as she's dying, she can feel the vines pulling her back in so that it's hidden. Yeah.
Can I just say,
yeah,
we do a little segment at the end of every episode of me guessing what the plot is. I never in a million billion years would have thought that a movie called The Ruins would be about a sentient marijuana plant that eats people.
Mm-hmm. That was kind of my hope, that you would never see it coming.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not. And the scene where they're like down underneath inside the temple or whatever, the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And the flowers start like jiggling.
Yeah.
I lost it. I was like, this can't possibly be what this movie is about.
It is, yeah. I will say, I hadn't seen this movie in so long, and I was like, I read the book last year, and that was kind of what made me want to put the movie back on, because I wanted to rewatch it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I won't spoil too much about like my rating or anything. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I don't think it's that good either.
Yeah.
just to put it out there, I'm not gonna like suck its dick, but I also don't really understand why people hated it so much. It is pretty cheesy. It was way cheesier than I remembered it being. When the flowers started, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I remember this being a little bit more sinister in 2008 when I watched it.
Yeah. The original, not the original ending, but the alternate ending sounded so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been like, okay, I'm so glad I just wasted 2 hours of my life watching this movie. Not that it was like a total waste, to your point, but this movie is definitely a product of that, like, oh, but audiences don't like sad movies. Like, grow up.
Yeah,
We
they
want
wanted to
sad
give
endings.
it a more hopeful ending.
Yeah.
Well, tell the
So-
people what the alternate ending is.
Yes. So Amy gets away, and then you see it's a totally different scene. A caretaker is seen walking among the headstones in a cemetery sometime later, and he's whistling a song. And he hears that same song coming from a grave. So he goes forward to investigate. Camera follows him, revealing the grave to be Amy's. And there are several red flowers sprouting at the headstone. And then the caretaker reaches to pick one of the flowers, and the scene cuts to black.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which also, there's an unrated version as well.
oh, that sounds fun.
And in the unrated, I think it ends, because I've seen it, and it ends with her driving away like it is in the film.
Oh.
But there's a wriggle under her eye, and you realize that there's a vine in her.
I think that's part of this ending too.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in the unrated version, it doesn't show.
It stops there at the eye.
Yeah, it stops there just as like a dun 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 type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think I saw that one years and years ago, and I was like, wait, that's way better.
Yeah. It was too hopeful.
It was. And I think they emphasize so much that like the spores are all over you.
Yeah.
That even if she did get away, there's no hope. And it's just going to spread everywhere, which is why the Mayans are so, as soon as you're in there, you're not coming out.
Yeah. Like the kid getting shot? Crazy.
Yeah. That I don't think happens in the book. But they find Matthias's brother, which also in the unrated version, they find his brother as well. Like his body.
Yeah.
And it's like covered in the leaves because they kind of hide it, right? To make it inviting. The leaves are very sentient.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I can't remember. I want to say like in the book, it only eats organic material. So like all their passports and stuff are still there. Because at one point, Jeff like walks around the entire thing and just finds skeleton after skeleton with like their passports and stuff on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do in the movie. They find the watch.
Yes. Yeah. So it is similar in that way. And then I think another difference in the book is that the vines, when they speak, it's like more human-like. But Carter Smith said when they were making the movie, that was something that they talked about really early on. And they wanted to steer away from it being comedic or campy. Like they didn't want it to go Little Shop of Horrors type of route. So they wanted it to just be more of this like echoey, like mimicky type thing instead of fully formed sentences.
Yeah.
Because I know in the book, they were just like a little bit more manipulative, and you didn't always know if they were saying things that the characters had said or if it was just imitating them and pretending that they said that. So that was kind of part of the paranoia of the group, was not knowing if their friends actually said that about them or not.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. But I do think it's a little bit harder to portray that in a serious way in a movie.
You know who does it really well?
Who?
Annihilation.
Yeah, true, but they're not really like... Yeah, the bear. That was good.
Yeah, that sound... I think about that sound all the time.
Yeah.
When they filmed this, so obviously the film takes place in Mexico, but they actually filmed it in Australia during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody had to wear heavy coats between scenes. And they used water and olive oil sprayed on their bodies to simulate sweat. Ew.
Yeah. They did a good job, though. Like, it looked hot in the movie, I felt like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I never would have guessed that it was winter. The other thing is that all the outdoor scenes were shot with natural light, which you could absolutely tell because some of it was like super washed out. But that was a challenge to Carter Smith and his cinematographer. They like asked themselves, how could we film a horror movie, a genuinely scary horror movie, in broad daylight?
Yeah. Ooh, also, I was going to ask you, because we just recently did an episode with Jonathan Tucker in it. Did you recognize him?
Is that Eric?
Jeff.
Jenna Malone's
Boyfriend, yeah.
Yeah, he looked familiar, but I don't remember what movie he's in.
Yeah. I would not have recognized him if it was simply a visual thing, but I recognized his name. I was like, wait, we just talked about him. And I clicked on it. It's the Texas Chainsaw remake from 2003. He plays the guy with like the curly hair and the glasses who has to sit in the back of the car and like the cop makes him reenact the girl's suicide.
Oh my god.
He looks completely different. I was like, I would have never realized that was him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked familiar, but I didn't recognize him. You know what I mean? Like I never would have been able to piece together where I knew him from. And same with Eric too. Was Eric in something that we've watched?
Shawn Ashmore, he's been in a lot of things.
Okay.
I don't know if we've talked about anything that he's been in, but he was in like the X-Men movies. He played the Iceman.
I never watched X-Men. I need to.
He was in a video game that I played, Man of Medan.
No.
Okay. He was in, I think you did a couple episodes of The Boys.
We were talking about that show at work. That's like
Really?
the last show you should talk about at work.
That is the last show.
Okay, wait. What's his name?
It's Shawn Ashmore. He was in Frozen, not the Disney one.
He's in Cadet Kelly. He's the love
Oh my
interest in
god,
Cadet Kelly.
He is
Oh my god, I knew I knew him from somewhere.
I can't believe I left out his most iconic role. I completely forgot he was in that. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my god, yeah, iconic. I knew he was in something that I would recognize.
Yep, that's got to be it.
Oh, funny. I think this movie took like a similar course, like timeline as Clown in a Cornfield, because Clown in a Cornfield we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The rights were also purchased to it before the novel was even published.
Yeah.
And this one too, that before the book was even published, the rights were purchased, which is crazy.
Yeah, I always wonder how that works. Like, does the publishing agent send out like a couple pages or like a summary to studio? Like, is that how that works?
I would assume that they've built relationships because they stand to make some money off of it too. So they've probably built relationships with the film studios and send them, this could be a movie.
Yeah. Has to be.
Okay, so all we have to do is write a book
on it
and get a publisher that has relationships with studios.
Right.
Easy.
And we'll make it into a movie.
Easy.
I mean, that's the dream. I just can't finish a book to save my life.
Yeah.
That's not true. I finished 2, but they were really bad, so those shan't be getting queried.
Too bad.
Yeah. One day, though. The temple that they shot on, they had 3 separate sets for that. The first was basically the front of it with like the vines growing over that they had to walk up. And then the second was the top where most of the film takes place. And then the third was the underground shaft with like the tunnel scenes. Shaft. But anything that shows the entire temple were kind of like a blend of those sets with CGI. So a lot of that was just obviously not real.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of like sort of visual effects, the amputation scene.
Yeah.
And then where the legs are kind of dragged away. Those were the first scenes to be given to the visual effects crew, and then the last to be finished. They took a lot of work.
Yeah.
That was also the first scene to be presented to studio executives for approval, because it's obviously the most brutal. So if they could get that approved, then they could probably get anything approved.
Yeah. I think this was also, like, Hostel had come out a couple years prior, which is...
With an E or an I?
E.
Like a hotel. Hostel.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. That is another horror movie that maybe we'll watch one day. But it's very gory. It's probably one of the first movies that termed torture porn.
Oh.
That was very much that. And so Carter Smith had said he knew that there were going to be comparisons to this because even plot-wise, they're both about like Americans, tourists being like taken off the beaten path by foreigners and it not going well.
Yeah.
So like that type of vibe was similar. And then also just both of them being pretty gory.
Mm-hmm.
But he really wanted the difference to be that all of the brutality and the violence that's happening to the characters in the ruins is because of decisions they're making. Like, they're inflicting that on each other, not like some foreign entity like doing it to them. Like, it's very much, you kind of have to think as an audience, would I be able to do that if the situation called for it? Like, could you actually
Sure.
amputate someone's legs because you think that's the only way that they're going to survive?
Sure.
And then he dies right after that.
Which is sort of along the same vein. Vine. The movie's about killer vines, but only one character is actually killed by them. Everybody else is killed by each other or the Mayans.
Yeah. I would argue that Stacy kind of died by the vines too. Like, I know Jeff kills her technically, but like,
Yeah.
the vines caused it.
Yeah.
She was gonna die either way.
Fair.
Also, book difference, Stacy's the one who makes out with other people, not Amy. Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
See, my biggest complaint about this movie is that there's like so many like little plot devices happening, or like little things happening. Like, we've got very half-baked like Mayan lore. We've got very half-baked relationships, like exploring relationships. Like, it just felt like there were a lot of little things happening, and that was the one that I had the biggest problem with. Was like, it felt very unnecessary to have her like have that like make out scene on the beach. I don't know. I don't know.
See, I felt like it just added to the, because then later when her and Eric are sitting outside and the vines kind of start like taunting Stacy with it, and Stacy knows that Amy has cheated on Jeff, so I think it's just like adding to that paranoia,
I guess. Yeah.
of like them using it against each other. But to your point, it's not as fleshed out as it is in the book, obviously, because the book takes more time with it. Like, they're there for much longer in the book.
Yeah.
They're able to like collect rainwater and use that and ration their food and stuff. So it's not 3 days like it is in the movie. But yeah, so I think it was them taking those elements of the book and maybe not fleshing them out as much as they could have. I don't understand, if you're gonna make Amy the like final girl, why they made her the one that is cheating on her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
I guess to show like depth of the character, like they're all complex, like not fully likable, like real people, you know? But yeah, that was interesting to me that you were going to put that on her and then make her the final girl that you're like rooting for at the end. But it's like, okay. Not that, you know, yeah, it was an interesting choice to make her a little more unlikable than she was in the book. She wasn't that likable in the book. Like, she's the one complaining all the time. But
it was also weird that they had that whole like, you'll still be here for me when I get back kind of thing. Like, you'll still be here between Amy and her boyfriend.
well, I think that was to show that she thought, oh, I'm going to get away to get help. But he knew he was going to sacrifice himself so that she could get away.
Right. How could you possibly have thought that there were any other options than he was going to sacrifice himself? That's what I was confused about, is that.
I think because at first, like, he's just pulling their attention away from her, right? Like, she's laying over there and he's like, oh, I'm just going to pull them to this side while I like do my little rant.
Yeah.
I think that's what she thought, or I guess told herself was going to happen.
I guess, yeah.
But
also, earlier I said that the movie is about a sentient marijuana plant, because that's what the leaves look like.
They do look a little marijuana-y.
Thank you. But technically they were inspired by pumpkin vines. I don't think that plants should be done practically.
Okay.
Because it just looks like somebody scooting along you know what I mean? Like, that should be done with CGI, I think. That you get a pass if you have to use CGI to do plants.
Yeah. That's valid.
You can't practically make that look anything other than cheesy.
Yeah.
Any other fun facts?
Only other thing I was going to mention was that the corpse that Amy and Stacy find inside the temple is supposed to be the girl at the beginning that we see getting attacked, but they were played by two different actresses, which I think is just kind of funny.
Yeah. Why not just use the same one? Weird.
I don't know. Well, I think I've heard, and I don't have anywhere to confirm this, but I have heard that the scene at the beginning was added in later because audience felt like it took too long for like scary stuff to start happening. So they added in the opening like little jump scare. So that might be why that they tested it first. People felt that, and so they added that scene in later. So they needed someone else because the actress who played the corpse was already busy. That's my assumption of what happened.
That scene did feel a little unnecessary. Also, like it was just very disjointed, and it's to me it was a completely different tone
Than the rest.
Yeah, like that tone felt like almost like Martyrs to me. Like so
okay.
Like bleak and like torture-y, and I don't know.
The rest of the movie didn't feel that way.
Well, the rest of the movie didn't feel torture-y, no, and it was like much brighter, and I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like that scene to me felt more classic horror movie, whereas the rest was more like dread and gore.
Yeah.
Not so much jump scares.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel, it felt out of place.
Yeah. And I think it's because it was.
Yeah.
That's my assumption based on what I've read, is that was not originally going to be there.
Yeah. And
which makes sense to me. It doesn't feel like it was supposed to be there.
Yeah. And I don't know that anybody would have seen the corpse and been like, oh, that must have been the girl at the beginning, because that scene was just so forgettable. I don't know.
Oh. See, I guess I connected that dot.
I did not. But, yeah. Okay.
Oh. I'm sorry that happened.
Hopefully I'm the only one.
Yeah. Oh, also I was going to mention, which we can definitely link this, but there is, I think it's called like moviecensorship.com or whatever, but it shows you the comparisons between the release and the unrelated version, and it's got like screenshots of it as well. So we can link that. It's kind of cool to go through and see what was different and like what scenes were cut.
The unedited version?
The unrated version.
Unrated version. You said unrelated, so I didn't know if you meant unedited or unrated.
Did I say unrelated? That's crazy.
Yeah. That's
sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right.
Unrated.
That is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I would like to see that.
We'll link it.
Well,
should we rate it?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
How scary did you think it was?
I gave it a 0.5.
Okay.
I don't think it's that scary.
Yeah.
It's a little gross, but it's not that scary.
Yeah.
And it is, like, looking back, it's a little cheesy, so that kind of...
So cheesy. Oh,
very
so
cheesy.
Yikes. You want to know something funny, though? I gave it a 1 out of 5.
Okay.
But I watched this movie, I was like, wow, I wish it had been scarier. And then that night, I had a dream that, as far as I know, I had watched that movie, and it was, like, the same movie. And it was a lot scarier for whatever reason in my dream. I did think it was really scary, and I had to throw away all my houseplants.
They'll get you.
Yeah, they're going to get you. So I feel like that should be worth something.
Yeah,
it made me have a dream wishing it was scarier, so.
Yeah, it had a dream where you threw away your houseplants. That's...
Yeah. So anyway, I gave it a 1.
Valid. How sexy did you think it was?
I mean, I do love a Mexico vacay with my friends, you know. For that reason alone, I gave it a 2.
Great.
And for those friends, you know who you are. A Mexican vacation can always be a 5, if you know what I mean. Anyway, this movie was too gory. It was.
I don't know what you mean.
It was gory. The movie was gory. That was really the only thing that made it interesting. So that toned down the sex factor quite a bit.
Yeah.
The director did say something about it being like, I wish I had written down exactly what he said, but he's like, oh yeah, the movie starts as these like sexy teens and it's just very like traditional, and then they go and they are like, and then it gets really gruesome, but there's still like some sex appeal about it. And I'm like,
there's not
really,
Mr. Smith. There's not.
Weird that you had to clarify that.
Yeah.
Would you give it?
I give it a 1.
Oh, okay.
I just give it half a point because like the cast is good looking.
Sure.
But the vibes were not.
How fucked up did you think it was?
I gave it a 2.5.
Oh yeah.
I think it's pretty gory, and I don't like personally the idea of things wriggling around inside of me, it gives bug. I know it was vines, but it gives bug to me, and I don't like that. So Stacy's was by far the worst for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Just mentally, like, thinking that there's things crawling around inside you, that's fucked up. I don't like that. And then Matthias getting his legs chopped off and then immediately dying. That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
What did you give it?
I mean, I don't think any of the gore was super like original necessarily, but there was a lot
Fair.
of it. It was pretty
Yeah.
intense. And I don't think we've ever seen an amputation where like you're watching the amputation happen. It's more of a like cut away and it happens.
Yeah.
So I did give it a 2.5 right down the middle also.
Nice.
Yeah.
You should look at the unrated side. It shows even more of the amputation. It shows him like cauterizing it and everything.
Oh my
It's crazy.
God.
Yeah.
There's a behind the scenes, I forget what it's called. We can link it also. But there's a behind the scenes video on YouTube. It's like 10 minutes long. And there's a lot of like different versions of the leg and like different, decompositions of the leg. And they're just kind of like playing with it.
Yeah.
On set.
Yeah.
Weird.
All right. Overall, what did you think of The Ruins?
I wanted to like it. I really did. I do think I would have liked it more with a different ending. Even the ending that they filmed, like that would have been great.
Yeah.
I do think I touched on this. I do think there was too much happening. There's like the historical sort of like the cultural aspect. There was the plants, the psychological, the mystery, like the vicious cycle thing. There was just like a lot of moving parts. Had this been done as more of like a thoughtful and tasteful ode to like Mayan culture, that could have been really cool. I think of like Prey, how they did with the Comanches.
Yeah.
That would have been like cool and fun and vibey. And like we could have learned something. Or like leave it like it was in the book where it's not necessarily a temple or like some sort of like historical artifact. It's more
it's just
like
a
just
place.
a hill. Yeah. Either of those would have been better. Also, like the plant thing, like plants should absolutely never be done practically. That is so corny. There's just like so much going on. So I gave it a 2 out of 5.
That's valid.
Fine in concept. I do think I would read the book, but just not great execution.
Very fair.
Thanks. How about you?
Like I said earlier, I guess I understand why people hate this movie so much, but like I don't think it's that bad. It is pretty cheesy. And I think maybe part of it is I watched it in 2008, 2009 when I was like 14. So at that point in my life, I was probably like, this is the craziest movie ever. But I do still think, even watching it now, it is cheesy, but it kind of has some of that like early 2000s charm about it. Kind of the same as like Dead Silence for me, where I'm like, yeah, it's not an Oscar-winning fantastic film, but like, is it kind of fun to watch? Yeah. So I think that's kind of how I feel about this one.
That's fair.
But again, very cheesy. I do wish that it had been a little bit more faithful to the book, but I also can't be mad at it because Scott B. Smith wrote the book and wrote the screenplay, so clearly it's what he wanted to happen, so good on him. I would still kind of like to see a faithful adaptation. I think that'd be really fun because I did enjoy the book, recommend the book. But yeah, overall I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about the writer of the book being the screenwriter. Like, that's not always a translatable skill. Writing a book is not the same as writing a movie. There's so many more
That's
considerations. True. So maybe it was just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that every author should be writing their own movie script.
Valid. I know, did he adapt? Yes, he had already adapted another one of his books, but he also writes a new book like every 10 years. So it's not, he doesn't do it a lot. But yeah, he has another book called A Simple Plan, and he adapted that into a screenplay as well.
That's probably, if he did that before, that's probably how he got the movie deal before the book was published.
That's true. He had already. Well, yeah, I mean, he's friends with Ben Stiller, so.
Yeah. And didn't Chris, what's it? Not Chris, Carter
Carter.
Smith do A Simple Plan?
Direct it?
Yeah.
No. It was directed by Sam Raimi, actually,
Oh,
who did The
interesting.
Evil Dead.
I must have been looking up the other guy, the writer.
Mm.
Smith. They're not related, by the way. If anyone was
Yeah,
wondering.
no relation.
Well,
All right, well, would you survive?
I think this one was a little too bleak.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the exception of Jenna Malone making it out alive, so I'm dead.
Yeah.
I also feel like I would break very quickly with like the psychological aspect. I have the mental fortitude of a clay pot. So I think I'm just walking off the side of the temple.
You're just walking to the Mayans.
No, like
You're going to
just
fall down the
tumbling.
stairs.
Yeah.
You'll probably survive that.
Well, maybe the Mayans would put me out of my misery.
There you go, yeah.
I'm not stabbing myself, but I am convinced that I can get, like, I would need to get it out. So that is the point of my undoing. I just,
Yeah.
end it. How about you?
Yeah, I feel similarly. If I had the idea that there was a bug in me, I would probably lose my mind. So unfortunately, I don't think I live because our rules are that we have to put ourselves in the situation. To be clear, though, I do not leave the resort.
Yeah.
I am not that girl. I love the resort. That's why I went to the resort, is because I want to get drunk and sit in a pool all day long.
Yeah.
And also, if my friends were like, hey, let's go here, this looks cool, and locals were telling me, don't go there, that's a bad place to go, I'm not going there. That's crazy.
So true.
Because they know.
Yeah. Also, for that guy to sell them out for $20 was crazy.
It was crazy. It took a lot more convincing in the book, to be clear.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't take any convincing at all. He's like, yeah, you guys want to die?
Yeah,
Sure.
no, they had to convince him to take them there, and then once they arrived there, he's like, don't go. Like, I'll take you back right now, actually. Like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Oh, okay. Well,
And Amy's just like, no, we're good. Weirdo. They go anyway. But
like, to be clear, I would do some crazy shit for $20. Try me. But I'm not selling people out like that.
I would not take people to their literal death for $20.
Yeah.
Personally. But you know what? Hard times.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Ay. Well, yeah, there you go. The ruins.
The ruins. Mid-movie.
Yeah, it is.
Watch it with your friends and make fun of it a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, fun to see Jenna Malone. We don't see her in a lot.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah. Hunger Games.
Hell yeah. Joanna Mason.
Mm-hmm.
It's my goyle.
And the guy from the river. He really can't get out of the jungle, can he? Joe.
Oh, Joe Anderson.
Yeah, he's in the river.
He is. And I actually remember that I watched The Ruins specifically because he was in it.
Oh.
Because I had seen Across the Universe and he was in that.
Yes.
And I hate the Beatles, but covers of their songs kind of go hard sometimes. So
Yeah.
He did Hey Jude in the movie.
Oh,
and
fun.
I listened to his version because I thought it was better.
Oh, yeah. My humanities class in college was about the Beatles.
Nice.
It was
That
more
sounds
interesting.
terrible.
It was more interesting than the alternatives.
Yeah, that's fair. Also Scream King, because he was also in another horror movie that we haven't watched yet, but we will.
Which one?
He did the remake of The Crazies.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means, but one day I will.
One day you will. Actually, I think in December you will.
Wow.
It's on the schedule.
Happy holidays to me.
Happy Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Let's watch The Crazies.
Let's watch The Crazies. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to predict next week's movie?
Yeah. I unfortunately had It Follows, or watching It Follows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had it sort of spoiled for me on TikTok.
Oh, okay.
From what I understand, it's about a sexually transmitted demon.
Okay.
It's a supernatural chlamydia, if you will. It reminds me of a bumper sticker that I just came up with right now.
Great.
Have sex, get possessed.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah. And it wipes out an entire high school. That's what I know.
That's what
For
happens,
sure,
yeah.
I know. That's what happens.
It's
But yeah, they're
spreading
at like
among the youngins.
yeah. It's like a girl and a guy, and they're at like makeout point or whatever. They fuck, and then she's possessed, and then he dies probably, and eventually she dies too. But this is another movie with cheaters. She goes and has sex with somebody else, and then she cheats on the guy.
Okay, that's how it spreads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a sexually transmitted demon.
Yeah, of course.
It follows. Remember,
As
like
above, so it follows.
so below. I remember when I thought this was like a clown movie,
Yeah, because it had the word "it" in it.
which is a reasonable assumption.
Sure. All right, cool. Kind of.
Yeah, it's definitely sex transmitted. I don't know what it is, but
I'll give you that. Yeah.
whatever it is
Sex is the catalyst.
follows sex. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, very fair.
All right, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it. People seem to like it, or they talk about it at least.
Yeah, I think it's one that it's like, it's about time you watch it.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
What
And
year is
actually,
it?
I'll talk about it next episode when we talk about it, but part of me thinks I should have shown you this sooner. But I'll explain that more next episode.
Okay.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
I don't remember.
Great. Couldn't have been that important then, right?
Nope.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for watching The Ruins.
Thank you. Thank them for watching, listening,
Thank
to
you for
this.
listening to us talk about The Ruins.
talk about watching the ruins.
Of course. We had, too many movies Katie liked in a row, so I had to throw in a clunker here and there.
It wasn't that bad, but yeah, two was enough.
Yeah, don't worry. There's more plant-related horror I can add. Maybe you like the
Wow.
next one better.
Yeah, okay. I do like plants.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, next week we're going to talk about It Follows. It's also my birthday, so you better listen, you motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
I'm
yeah, you
calm.
picked this one for your birthday.
I did, yeah.
Okay. She always gets to pick the movie, but
I
this one
yeah.
specifically, we were like, oh, what's your
I was gonna pick the movie no matter what, but
Yeah. Specifically, this one was picked for her birthday. It's her birthday movie.
yeah. I mean, I was kind of tied to a genre just to keep the flow correct, but
Yeah.
I did pick it for a reason, either because I really like it or because I would assume Katie would think that I really like it and it's actually the worst movie ever. So find out next week what I think of It Follows.
Okay, good.
All right, thanks for listening. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you are enjoying the content. If you're not enjoying the content, weird that you made it this far. But anyway,
An hour and a half.
That's crazy. You should have stopped earlier, babe.
Seriously.
But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week in June.
Bye.
Bye.